It might just like, all right, good morning, everybody. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I always hate to use prayer as a means of crowd control, but I was about ready to pull it out. We're ready? The Lord be with you. Oh, holy God and gracious God, we give you thanks for this beautiful day that you have made. And we rejoice and we are glad in it. We are grateful for this place. We are grateful for the people who have gathered here, and we pray that your Spirit be with us now. Guide us. Open our hearts, our minds. Help us. Be our shepherd. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So I appreciate you all being here. We are doing this over 3 Sundays. People ask, do I need to be there for all 3 Sundays? Yes. If you can, it would be great. And this Sunday, I'm just kind of setting the table for it. And the next 2 Sundays is a little bit of the meat of the process, but hopefully we'll get some meat in all of this. Why are we visioning? Right? Right? So let me ask you this. Did Bed Bath & Beyond have a bad product? What happened? They overspent. Too much competition. Didn't stay relevant. Internet. Share buyback. Boy, there are people who read their Wall Street journals here, and that's good. So yeah, so why are we doing this? We'll find out. So the next 3 Sundays, Bill Wilson's going to be here for the next 2 Sundays, and we had Bill Wilson. He comes from the Center for Healthy Churches. Bill's father was the pastor of a little church called Brentwood Baptist Church, and so he doesn't know anything about church growth or anything. So, but we had him back in 2013 leading us. Any of you remember that at all? Okay, so he's going to be coming back with us. The last time we did visioning, I don't know if you know that back in 2010, when I got placed here, called to this church, a repeated theme was don't change a thing, which is lovely. You know, it's like, okay, so for and Sophie was here at the same time I came in here, and we're running around going, what do we do? Okay. And we're wondering how this church works, how, you know, and I've never seen so many faces and names and trying to get it all together, and I couldn't. And so visioning was a huge help for me. This is 2013. This is what we look like as a staff. We were younger and happier. And now we're a little different, right? Thanks. Hugh, I love you the most. Remember this? That was 2003. That was 10 years ago. That beautiful pink carpeting, the doorways. Couldn't tell which way to enter the church. Door number 1, door number 2, door number 3. If you were handicapped, you had to go down that ramp and make a left, and good luck. You had the stairway to heaven or not. The little, you know, youth church thing there. You know, you take 2 doors. Which one are you going to choose? So that was the gym. Had a sticky floor. We had to pry that kid up. Little steam gets those wood blocks right off their knees. It's pretty good. Those were the bathrooms. You remember those bathrooms? Ooh. Yeah. 2013. The Pope was just brand new. Snowden. Same-sex marriage became the law of the land. The Boston Marathon. Those 2 people had a baby. I don't remember their names. And we got Anthony Weiner. Remember when that was big news? And then, who was that? Louisville? They thought they won this championship, but they didn't. Remember that? That was all taken away, I think. We were just coming out of the flood stuff. Our church, we had brought in so many people from all over the country to come here, all over the world too. Come here, use this space. We went out, did a lot of work. It was pretty amazing. 10 years ago. All those people since 2013, saints. They're not just names, they are saints. You can go through every one of those names, and there's a story and a great deal of love and how they've loved this place. Just curious, how many of you have arrived since 2013? Look at that. Welcome. Don't change a thing. So when we got done with visioning, and that visioning process for me was huge. I mean, I don't know if you got anything out of it, but I got a ton out of it because I got to know what made this church tick. Don't change a thing. Well, I heard from you all that we need to change lots of things. And what we learned was, from the different gatherings that we had, was that, first of all, we wanted to be more welcoming. That we heard from those who attended that they didn't feel welcomed into the church. And I know that it's still going on today. We still need to work on our welcoming. It's a big place. We all know our closest friends. We kind of gather towards that. But there's a whole church that's being brought in since 2013, like a quarter of us in this room, who want to feel welcomed into this congregation. If you're an extrovert, you can do it. If you're an introvert, it's a little hard, okay? But we wanted to be more welcoming. Members sought personal invitations into all missions and ministry. One of the things that we heard was, I don't know about this. I don't know about this. I don't know about this. And we thought it was a communication problem, but no, it was an invitation problem. We needed to invite people hands-on. Didn't matter if you sent them a postcard, you had to invite people. There was an elder class not too long ago where everybody in that elder class, when we sat in the chancel, remembered the people who invited them to participate in the church when they got here. They remembered them by name. It was a huge gift. That gift is in every single one of us. And so we need to be about that. Expand small groups of all kinds. We knew we had to do that. We were just getting started with that. Some of them are taking off. Exploring alternative worship service. Don't change a thing. Right? And the thing is, what we do in that sanctuary, we're not going to change. We're not going to change that. But we're going to add to that. We've tried to add to that. We've tried little things that haven't quite gotten traction. We're still, I think, working on it. I think we still need to do that. Exploring alternative worship services. Increase participation in Bible and theology in and outside of Sunday morning. adding discipleship classes, adding educational things. Every member has a mission. That was another thing that we thought, that everybody who comes into this church needs to feel called into mission and ministry. And that mission and ministry could be working on a habitat house, or could be just picking up your kids from school. But to think of that as mission and ministry rather than I'm just picking up my kids from school, and turning that into a ministry moment. We wanted to work on that. And being more transparent. That's the thing when I got here, it was like, we got all this money, we don't even know where the money. You know, it's like, okay, we're gonna let you know how much money we got, where the money is, how things work, how to get on a committee. We're trying to be more transparent all the time. We got nothing to hide. And if there is something to hide, I don't want to hide it. Okay. That's, you know, that doesn't do anybody any good. We need to look at the things that we do not well and change it. We just need to be better all the time. So how did we do? Well, there's a change. I think we really stepped up mission everywhere. This was right after the fires out. This was the flood that happened out in Waverly. We went out to Peru and to Haiti, to Africa. We expanded our ministry in the church, expanded small group ministries. This is telling your story. Montreat, I am so thankful that we keep going back to Montreat, that thing has grown year after year, because that, you know, confirmation class is great. And maybe it takes hold. I tell you what, that takes hold. Okay. Youth group is different than it was when I was a kid. When I was leading youth group, you measured the size of your group, youth group by what you did on Sunday morning. And, you know, I had 25, 30 kids in my youth group on Sunday morning. If I did that today, I'd have 4, because they're all pressured to do homework all the time. And trying to get them out, you can't do it anymore. And so this has been a change, doing small groups everywhere. All, you know, the youth leaders are going everywhere to do small group ministry. Youth councils, knitting. You go there, they make cookies and they give you one. But I've learned you got to talk to them. You just can't eat the cookie and leave. Care. We have expanded our care program so much. It's amazing, you know, it's, for me, knowing it's overwhelming how much need there is in the church. And 2 pastors, 3 pastors, 5 pastors, 10 pastors cannot do it. It takes all of us. And that's the change that we've seen in care. It's big. Guitar teaching, book studies, Westminster Academy, all that is new. Authors Roundtable, the bulletins. We're trying to get information. We've tried it so many different. I think we finally landed on something that works, and that's a bulletin that reads like a magazine. And you can take it, and you can take it home, and you can take it to your folks in the nursing home, whatever. They love it. Keeps them up to date with the church. Since 2013, Westminster Home Connection became a thing out of that flood. And then yeah, that is the worst experience in my life. You know, there's Joe up there in the sound. John was to the right of me. You know, somebody's behind me, Heidi or Guy. And then you get done with the postlude, clear. See you, Ralph. See you, George. And out the door. I mean, that was awful. It was awful for you. And you know, both sides and it's funny how COVID has to have sides, but it had sides. And you had people who were like, I'm never, till this thing's over with, I'm never coming back. And there are sides that like, I had a woman come into my office who was single, extroverted, that my business has kept me working at home, and I can't even go to my own church. And she was so lonely. And it was like, I know. It was just hard to navigate all that. And we all got irritated at each other. And I get irritated at every side. It would drive me crazy. People would want to close down the church, but you'd see them at Costco or, and then people would say doesn't mean anything. And then their grandmother would die. And it's like, it is something, but it's so hard. And we just got on each other's nerves. It was awful. But it changed everything. Joe Clifford is a friend of mine for a long time. He's now at Myers Park Presbyterian Church. He was actually here at our church and heard the call to ministry from our church with KC. And part of maybe why I'm here is because I know Joe Clifford, and it's a connectional church. But I like this quote of his. My NCAA brackets look a lot like those Vision 2020 long-range plans I participated in around. I mean, it hit Myers Park really hard. I mean, just really hard. So in 2013 to 2023, what's changed? Same-sex marriage, Me Too movement, politics, the economy. We're divided on race, COVID. At the Capitol, had Ukraine and Russia, inflation. Got politics as usual. Things are heating up or raining down or whatever. Roe versus Wade overturned, the covenant school. All that has changed us in some way. The covenant school thing. I have spent, and Sophie's spent more time in it than I, and Joanne has spent more time. We're going to have to go around this building looking at everything to make sure that it feels safer. We got to put new film on some of the windows. We've had film on a lot of the windows. We're going to have to upgrade the film on some of the windows. We learned at the Covenant School that when the shooter came in, shot the bullets, the smoke from the gun set the fire alarm. So the kids came out of their classrooms. So now they make alarm systems that know the difference between gun smoke and real smoke. Okay, it's crazy. It is. I never in my life thought you'd have to do that. That's crazy. And that takes money, and we're going to have to do another security guard, and it's just nuts. And that keeps us safe, I guess, but it also keeps ministry dollars from going out elsewhere, and that's hard to fathom. So, and then we got this.
My puppy on the back of the couch, trying to protect this house. Everybody. Okay, so if there's 2 squirrels per tree, there might be more.
Had like dark like yeast and things.
That's the only thing you're going to remember today, isn't it? This thing has rewired our brains. And everybody's like, and you can do that for an hour. How do you compete with that in a church? That's weird. Sunday school kids, that's what they got. They've rewired the brain. AI. Nay, nay, I say, this cannot be, that machines should e'er surpass our art. We are masters, them the slaves, and thus it shall ever be so. They learn, 'tis true, but they learn only what we bid them learn, no more. They cannot understand the heart or beauty of our words, you see. So let us not give in to these machines. They'll never be as good as we at creating art. AI did that. Told it to write a Shakespeare, and it did it. Which one is the real person, the one on the right or the left? How many of you say the one on the left? How many of you say the one on the right? How many of you didn't vote? This is what happens in our country when you don't vote. Well, the one on the right is the machine-made one. How is anybody going to know what's real? What's changed? After COVID, we know people are lonelier than they've ever been. Who knows what the economy is going to do? I have a great friend who's an economist, worked at Duke, chair of the department. I keep asking him for my whole life, what's the economy going to do? He goes, I don't know. I'm like, I want to do your job. Security. That's what I told him, you know. That's crazy. Nashville has changed. I remember coming into Nashville, going to Howard Lamar's office before the office was even open and looking down at a hole in the ground, which was that thing. And now Howard's getting out of his office because it's too loud downtown, right, Howard? I mean, it's just crazy. It's changed. And then we got the AI thing going. So think about this. Have you changed since 2013 economically, politically, socially, spiritually, mentally? And how has your worldview changed? And I want you all to just find somebody to talk to about some of those, okay? Just do it now, okay? Now, yeah, right? We're When you can't recognize it. All right. All right. If I could, thank you. Hate to shut that off. That's as much noise as I've heard in this place in 10 years. Good noise. Can I have some people just share a little bit about what they heard? You raise your hand, I'll give you a mic. Now everybody's quiet. You, go ahead. Go.
Okay. Frankly, one of the things we discussed, or the main thing we discussed, is that we have to recognize that if this church is going to be around for hopefully the next millennium, there are a number of our senior staff that are going to retire in the next number of years. And I think we all know who that is. I give my friend Jenny a lot of credit because I think we have to address that head on. And there are a lot of other considerations, of course, but we have such a fantastic senior staff, both administratively and ministerially, that you will all be hard acts to follow. And we have to address that, and we have to do it pretty darn quickly.
Yeah, I don't plan to go anywhere real quick, but that's good news. That's good news. But you know, part of me, I was telling Heidi and got, you know, I can't imagine doing this job without them. Right? You know. You know, but you know, our job is to make sure that this place, I don't care who the leadership is, that you all are the priesthood of believers and are leading this place and making our job easier just because you want to do the God thing. Okay. What else did you hear?
The image of a barbell. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer.
Okay. One of the things I heard was someone said, I was feeling really good. I'm a pretty positive person, but covenant knocked me down. And now I don't know what. Okay. And I know for me, you know, Jesus returning has always been kind of a joke through my ministry. But you know, I was like, there is no better time, right? There's no better time, right, to have someone to come down with truth and peace and hope and joy. Because I just feel like, you know, I don't read the New York Times. I just go, oh, and then I do the crossword puzzle. Because I feel so bad and sad after reading the New York Times. It's awful. What else did you hear? Anything? Anybody echo that? Yeah.
One thing that I talked about was focus more so on worldview of, I think what will really help us is, and something that I've learned is, I used to let everything that was happening in the world, like thousands of miles away, nothing that I could like really control or have any effect on, that would affect me. And I kind of started to learn, you know, really just I need to start focusing on more stuff locally and what I might not necessarily be able to control it, but what's kind of within my purview to control. And so I feel like one thing that could help us in this revisioning is really just focusing locally and building community. And then hopefully that could start to spread. And to your point about, you know, wanting Jesus to come down, I think as a worldview, we've just lost that spiritually. That's one thing I've seen. That was one thing that called me to come back to the church. So I think if we can work on that, continue to build community, continue to work together, then hopefully that will start to spread a positive change and start to really change the worldview altogether.
Great, thank you. I remember 25 years ago, they had a video of a whale stuck in a lagoon in the morning. And I'm like going, I feel so miserable because that whale's stuck in the lagoon. And I couldn't figure out, okay, now I feel bad, but I don't know what to do with the whale in the lagoon, right? And that's the problem. A lot of this feels out of the control. And when it comes to the politics stuff, this is my problem, is the more you want something, the other side wants something, and it, you know, you take covenant and it just divides into us and them. And if that road does not work. And so getting real local, you know, let's talk about our fear, you know, what is the fear on this side and what is the fear on this side? And let's figure out, do we have anything in common? Anything? Right? Anybody else? I'm missing it. Wave. Okay, sorry. Thank you. You don't have to stand up now.
To build on that last point about bringing it local, actually a couple of points, if that's okay.
Yeah.
One is I've got not a lot of hope that things in the climate are going to change sufficiently that we won't see a lot of refugees, either from our own coast, maybe not in my lifetime, but in the lifetime of some young folks who are here, and refugees from war-torn areas and drought areas, et cetera. So thinking locally, we may have a role in helping to take care of them. But then coming more locally, and this is rather personal, I cried when I heard about Covenant. And then I thought, why didn't I cry when I heard about the children who were shot in East Nashville? What's the difference? There's not a difference. The difference is my attitude and what I see and what I feel. And it's that them, us. Covenant is us. Church group, mostly white children. East Nashville, different. And I know I need to do some real soul searching to figure out why I can't see that ordinarily.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, there's been shootings and shootings and shootings and shootings and shootings. And it was odd, we were going through the church and we're talking about 3M stuff and the film and being who I am, I looked up 3M company on my phone to see where the stock price was. Isn't that sick? And the stock price is going down. And Scott Portis turned to me and said, we're just a little blip, Nashville, in the entire world of 3M, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, what kind of sick guy is looking at the stock price of 3M? Because what I'm thinking of is we're spending $100,000 on film. And, this world of profit, everything's screwed up. I don't know. Anyway. So 2014-23, what's changed since COVID? This is, you've seen this before, but I just, we got to April of last year in the church and you all still weren't coming back. And I was like, I don't know what, but you weren't coming back to any of the churches. And so church groups were sending out surveys of what was going on. And what we learned was the numbers of never coming back increasing and infrequently increasing, and all that has changed since COVID. Presbyterian Church, as you know, continues to shrink rapidly. And so what does that mean for us in terms of who we are in the presbytery? What's a presbytery? What does this mean? What does it mean to be Presbyterian? That's all changing. May of 2020. Has there been a period in your life when you attended Christian church regularly? 78% said yes, 22% said no. What would make you consider attending? If I felt accepted, if I was welcomed warmly. Number 4, if I trusted the pastor's integrity. So you all are going to have to make a lot of work on accepted and warmly. Okay. Wanting to make lifestyle change. Most desired teaching topics: practicing Christians, how to read the Bible, how to be a Christian in today's society and the gospel. Non-practicing, how to read and interpret the Bible, relationships, social, political issues. Non-Christians, parenting and family issues, morality and values, social or political issues. So I wonder how you get non-Christians into the church. You could help read and interpret and understand the Bible, maybe. I don't know. According to the Washington Post analysis of survey data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, religious and spiritual activities do more to make people happier and add meaning to their lives than any other category or activity. Isn't that good news? The regular worship attenders find happiness, meaning, and relief of stress. 50%, 57% of unchurched are within reach. I just want to be accepted and cared for, with a hunger to read and interpret the Bible. And I keep asking myself, and the church is dying? I mean, that's, that's sower who sows the seed. That's good soil. Well, the question is, do we have the energy, imagination, intelligence, and love to throw the seeds for us? To me, I think, I said in my sermon, one of the biggest things I hear is parents saying, my kids don't attend church. And the only thing I can think of is that they found nothing here that made any sense. And I don't know if that's the problem, is that the word didn't follow the deed. The word did not follow the deed. That they're hearing it, they're just not seeing it. They didn't feel it. They didn't know it. They didn't, I'm in the camp of, I don't know what I would do without the church. My life is filled with church people who loved, grace, gave, sacrificed. And some reason, I think they miss that. I don't know. So to me, there's no better time to be the church. I think we've got the best product ever. There's no reason for us to be worried about the future from what we have. It is good news. It is gospel. It is the salvation of the world. It is amazing. It is hope. It is light. It is truth. It is against fear. It is against division. It's the reconciliation of all things. What are we missing? This is from Ephesians. We must no longer be children tossed to and fro, blown about by every wind of doctrine, by people's trickery, by their craftiness and deceitful scheming. But speaking the truth in love, we must grow up in every way into him who is the head, into Christ. With him, the whole body, joined and knitted together by every ligament with which it is equipped, as each part is working properly, promotes the body's growth in building itself up in love. There is a lot of stuff out there that is not real. It is not true. It's getting to be more and more and more every day. We have to work, I think. I mean, you can't fake love. You can't fake grace. And you can't fake attempting to be a better person. To grow up in Christ. You can't fake that. I think we need to be real. I mean, real. I think. Text from today. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. And when he has brought out all of his own, he goes ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice. They will not follow a stranger, but they will run from him because they do not know the voice of a stranger. This political stuff we are being fed, and I'm going to harp on this, this news stuff. It's all about money. It's all about getting our attention. don't drink Kool-Aid. We cannot drink Kool-Aid. So when this comes to, and he was talking about this, getting this local, I think that's where this starts. I think this is grassroots stuff. I think this is first church, first century Christian stuff. That we are going to look at the people who are suffering, and that's maybe all of us. Like I said, I'm leaning into Jesus coming because I'm like, I don't know how to fix this thing. We need to lean into it and start talking about that and not just sit here and wait for Jesus to come, but make it look like when he gets here that we exhibited the kingdom before he got here. But people won't be surprised by it. So the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not. This is the last thing I think we got left. I was touring Europe, and the Reformation sprung out of a time when priests controlled the word. And in Florence, they have doors on the church that have the story. They're carved into the doors. Genesis story, the prophet story, the prodigal son story. Each one of them is, and I could go through them and I could say exactly what each one of those was. And I thought back in that day, people must have just stood in front of those doors because that was the only word they had. It was before the Bible was written. And they're just saying, that's the story. Well, now nobody knows the story. If you're coming Christmas and Easter, you don't know the story. The best texts of the year are in the summer, and nobody's here. They're the best preaching texts ever, and nobody's here. And we don't know the story. Well, this is the last one. And if you don't have this memorized, you need to have it memorized. And if you're not a disciple, you need to be a disciple. We need to know our words. So the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. That is a statement. That is a faith statement. It says, I'm not in control. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. I will fear no evil. Thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. And you see your cup running over? Your cup running over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I want you all to talk about how, if you knew that, if you lived that out, how would that affect you economically, politically, socially, spiritually, mentally, and your worldview? Go ahead. All right. All right. So, the news in the last few days has been, kid goes into the neighbor's yard for a ball, or somebody goes across to his neighbor and says, "Can you keep it down? My baby's crying." And the reaction is, "I'm just going to kill you." What if we spent as much money on security as we did in promoting good news to people who are lonely? Right? I don't know. I mean, something has changed. Everybody's on, a hair trigger. What if this ruled the world? What if this news ruled the world? So here's our homework. What would it look like to be proactive instead of reactive? What would it look like to be imaginative instead of fearful? What would it look like to be a community in an age of individualism? That we were people who came together, and we could be of different thoughts and different minds, but we're going to work together to try to love one another. What would it look like to be transformative instead of divisive? I am looking forward to the next presidential campaign like a heart attack. Okay. I mean, I've done that my whole ministry. It's like, oh God, here we go, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. What does it mean to be real in an age of artificial intelligence? What does it mean to be ministers of reconciliation in an echo chamber world where I am right and you are wrong, and because you are wrong, you're the devil? Jesus never says that. What would it look like to welcome the unchurched? What would it look like to understand the fears of others? I mean, I think that's the hiccup right there. Understanding the fears of others. This media is throwing the fears. Why? What? Why are we drinking all that in? Homework. Jesus tells his disciples, get into the boat and go to the other side. Well, the other side is a side you've never been to before. It's a foreign land. You can't say no to Jesus. You got to get into the boat, which is the church, and you have to go to the other side. So be thinking about some God-sized opportunities for Westminster. God-sized, I mean God-sized. Something we don't think we can do. I went to see David, I may get fired for doing that, but I went to see David in Italy. He didn't have any clothes on, but I'm okay. I don't feel changed by it. But that blew me up. I thought I was just going to see a statue. That's huge. That's amazing. But that's, you can see David and he's going against Goliath, and you look at him one way and it looks like he's terrified. And you look at him from the other side and he looks like it's just one little word that's going to fall this guy. And that's where we are. Fear or faith? Thank you.